Welcome to episode 17 of the Light Her Project podcast. Real Women?
Real talk.
I'm Rachel Strella.
And I'm Vixen Divine.
Thank you for tuning in today.
And I'm Deena Rabideau. I didn't know. Hello.
Hi! We do have a guest. Welcome.
Thank you.
Today's topic is making a fresh start. So I'm really happy to have a guest here. And I think that she's best introduced by her Instagram profile. So it says, Mom, bar owner, just having fun with the second half of my existence. I also do not give a beep what others think. My kind of gal. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah.
We actually met on TikTok. So you don't often form relationships that way, but it was great. So I'm really glad to have you here. The New Year just around the corner.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yes, yeah, it's so wonderful. With the New Year coming,
Welcome in.
right around the corner, we're probably thinking about this. So whether it's our careers or our personal lives, this topic seems pretty timely. So we usually start our episodes talking about our personal experiences. So let's talk about a time when we had to make a start and maybe what we learned from it, from that fresh start. So for me, one of the things that sticks out are my personal life. In 2014, I left my husband and I moved from Harrisburg to Norristown, and I was completely on my own for the first time. And my mom and dad were not really happy about it, especially my mom. And so that was hard too, because you're already making this life change and you have people that are like, why are you doing that? So I think for me, what I learned is that, you're going to have doubters, and change can come as a shock to people. I know that some people can even take it personally. And one thing that I'll say though is I found that the people who doubt you the most are the ones that probably don't have the courage to make a change themselves. So they undermine those who do. And I remember one of my friends, a good friend, saying, the grass isn't greener on the other side. And that always stuck out to me as an attack.
Well, you know what? Here's the thing about it. It can be awful. It can be awful at the time. It can feel really bad when people don't get behind you on the things that you want to do because you need support at that point. But you know what? When you stand up for yourself, like you did, because you did it anyway, and you did what you needed to do, you came out better for it, didn't you? See?
Yep.
It's one of those things. What happened to me, well, several things happened to me, but as far as making a change and a fresh start, I think also for me, one of the things, and I think some of you guys know this story about when I got divorced, and then I suddenly ended up with two kids, a single mom, and two autistic children with no real world education. I was educated, went to college, but I went to school for business and had never actually worked in business because I was a stay at home mom. So I had no real world experience per se. So that was a fresh start for real, but you have to just make a determination and a decision. And sometimes it doesn't matter what you say. But what it taught me was, you know what? You can make a fresh start whenever you want. Nobody has to give you permission. It's just something you want to do, and you can do it, and it's really not trouble at all.
100% agree. I've had the similar experience as both of you when getting divorced myself. Like my mother was not happy. My family was not happy. It's almost like they kicked me out of the family for a while. And then I just feel like eventually everyone calms down. They accept it. It starts to get better. My ex-husband and I are like best friends now, and we've been divorced a very long time, and we have a child, but my mom, came around, everybody came around, and everything ended up fine. And some friends were not happy and all of that, but in the end, ultimately it's your life, it's your decision. Everyone should be happy.
They should be. And any of you think of this, do you think that these people are just concerned about us?
Mm, some, maybe some. And what Rachel said is right, though. A lot of people don't have the courage to do it. They want to do it, but they don't do it. And then when someone is doing it, they're like, oh,
Yeah. Yeah. Hmm. Well, let's go to some questions here. So, how do you know when it's time to make a change, or a new start? Like, what are you feeling? Happy, bad, unhappy, complacent? Well, I think obviously unhappiness is a definite indicator. You could be feeling stuck or spinning your wheels. Sometimes we're forced to. We hit bottom, and we're creatures of habit. So sometimes it truly takes hitting rock bottom before making a necessary change. I know that happened with my brother. Um, Other times, I think we just kind of want to pursue things because we're drawn to it, or we're passionate about it. You may have heard that phrase, "The heart wants what the heart wants." I
100%.
you know, um, and I know from like the career standpoint, it's easy to get bored too. Some people say, "Oh, a job is just a job." I think the older generation, the mentality was like, "You just got to do what you got to do. You clock in, you clock out. It's just work." And now there's just this deep sense of purpose for the younger generations. They're in search of that, and that changed the game. The gig economy changed the game. And I know for me, like I have to like my work. If I'm not enjoying it, I know I need to make a change. And that's how I knew when I wanted to start my business when I did in 2010.
What do you think, Tina?
I feel like yes, it could be a couple things, like a huge life change, and you're like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? Like, I'm not happy. I'm not as fulfilled as I could be. It's time for me to pivot. Like, let me go try this. Fear is the killer of most for people. Fear will stop you from doing anything. It just kills the dream for a lot of people because they're scared. I recommend conquering them fears in your 30s so you can recover later if need be. But I think a big life change sometimes has to happen for people to be like, that's it. I'm going to go do this. I'm going to try it.
I think that fear that you speak of, I think if you're not afraid of whatever you're about to do, then you're just complacent. It's not going to be a change unless you fear it,
Yep.
because you're going to be in that same spot because that's comfortable. That comfortable spot is something you already know how to do, something you already did, somewhere you've already been. But that fear is somewhere you have not been yet because you don't know what's happening, you don't know what's going on, and you don't know what's going on ahead.
Yeah. You're
But when
absolutely
you
right.
get there, that's the place to be. Then, if that's in finance, that's in personal life, that's in all of it. You have to have a little bit. Now, I'm not saying jump off a bridge, not saying that. So there's limits to that. If you are, I hope some bungee cords are strapped to your ankles if you're doing that. But genuinely, and you know, be having common sense when you do this. But you should have a little bit of fear when you move on to that next thing, because that's when you know you've pushed yourself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I agree with you 100%. So, and I know, Vixen, you have a special interest in this question. How do you keep your core identity in place when making a life transition?
This is something that people, they feel like they have to change. When they make that transition, they feel like they have to change who they are. In other words, Lisa steps into the room. Suddenly they have to be like Lisa because they don't have their core self. I love Madonna when she did this. Remember that? Remember that? In the Vogue thing?
Vogue.
Yeah, yeah. Little box here. Okay, so everyone should have a box. That is your true self. Now, don't get me wrong. Sometimes you do change yourself to kind of make Lisa feel a little more comfortable, that sort of thing. But understand what you're doing. You can't do that with Lisa and Jeff and John and everyone. You get a boyfriend, John, suddenly you want to go kayaking.
Right.
You never liked kayaking, but suddenly it's your best sport,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. So, your core self is your core belief. No matter if you're going camping, you know you don't like bugs, so go glamping. Just do that. Have your core self and understand who you are. If you don't understand who you are, that fresh start is worthless because you're going to change into something you don't like because you're changing things you don't need to. Change the things on your outside, but keep that core on the inside. Understand if you have to write a little tablet or a journal to remember, write down who your core self is. Some people don't know.
It's true.
So
Staying true to yourself is important.
very important, very important. So that's just the one thing I would say about that. That is the big deal I see. Oh my gosh, I can give you some examples, but y'all can talk all night.
Another podcast. I understand what you're saying, and I would actually argue though that we better identify who we are when we make a life transition. So, like, I know for me, I discovered strength and resilience, that I didn't know that I had, and I learned a lot about myself. But I think I had my core down. Like I didn't I knew who I was, but I learned so much more about who I was in this process. I mean, they say change is necessary for growth. I learned there's so much that I learned when I make a change, like a massive change.
How about you, Deena?
Oh, I think I'm struggling with that right now because I did just move. I have learned a ton about myself. I would never go anywhere by myself or not go any like at where I came from, where I grew up. Yeah, all day long, every day, all day. But like traveling by myself, flying by myself, leaving the house here and just venturing out by myself, that would a year ago, no way. I would have told you you're crazy if you would have told me that I'd be doing this right now. Um, I still do. I am struggling with giving up control of my business that I grew and cultivated, and failure has always been a word in my vocabulary, but it's never happened to me. I've been very blessed. But I think some of that's contributed to my strength. You can't I can't discount that. But I trying to just stay true to myself. Like Rachel said, I know already that I'm a strong person. I can handle anything. I've been through some things, made me I can handle anything. I can do it. I just know I can do it.
Yeah. Yeah, and as business owners, we understand like that would be a really hard thing to have to walk away from.
Yeah. I sold a percentage of my business to one of my staff members. That was her bargain, and that's okay. I'm sick to myself about it, but I gotta trust that I did enough with her, that she's watched me enough. She's been there 12 years, that it's enough to until I decide to take both feet out, that she can do it for us.
Yeah, I understand
Okay.
that up. And Vix and I have talked about that before because I have a team of people, and she likes to keep things mostly in her hands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have problems.
I
Look,
most business
Are they good problems?
you got to you want that control. Get it. All right. So another question here, and we'll start again on this one. When you have to start new because of an unplanned change, like how do you keep a positive mindset?
I don't know. I was thinking about this. I don't know if I've ever had to do something that was unplanned. Uh, Pivot or make a change. Well, I mean, I guess it didn't change like the day to day, but like losing my mom, like my whole life changed. Things change. That's when I was like, that's it. I'm going to do this. I can do this. If I just went through that, I can do anything. Nothing's going to affect me. Um, but I don't think I've ever had to make a change just on a dime like that. Again, I'm going to go back to I'm blessed and grateful that I've never had to do that, but I'm confident that I could.
okay. All right. That sounds good. I like the confidence there.
You have to when you're solo. You know it. You gotta know. There's nobody but you. No one's coming to save you. There's no one but me.
Well, keeping a positive mindset, I think, is back to that core. Um, and it actually has to do with how you're raised and your surroundings. Because if you have negativity around you constantly, you are likely to be a negative person. You would have to be a positive person, you would have to make a serious beeline for the positivity, for it to even manifest in your life because there's so much negativity around you. And how you were raised the same way, those your surroundings affect your life, affect your thinking, affect how you are. So
Absolutely.
you would need to really make sure and be conscious of it if you have that control, assuming that you do. Start reading positive books, start reading um, positive change things, affirmations, because the best way to handle and keep a positive mindset is have one before you need one.
Oh yeah, yeah. I like that. I like that.
Great. Yes, good advice. You are 100% right. My mom is an extremely negative person. Now she went mentally ill about 2 years ago, so she's a little different now. But my whole life, it wouldn't matter what it was, she'd be negative. If I had all A's and a B plus, what's up with the B plus? Stuff like that. And so it was ingrained in me like from the start. I always just was negative was where I went right away. And I'm still a very skeptical person. Vixen knows, you know, it took a conscious effort for me to really turn that around and be positive. So I'm glad you brought that up. Um, as far as unplanned change, though, I think, change is constant. I mean, isn't that a saying? So things are going to happen, and unfortunate things are going to happen. I know, you know, like when Nathan's dad died earlier this year, that really was huge for us. I mean, what we had to do to like take care of his mom, um, and everything else. Like it was just a
It's a
huge
lot.
shock. So one of the things that's helped me is relying on other people. I had a community of people from, family and friends. My team stepped up. Like, I think it's so important to have people around you that support you, are going to be there because it's so hard to get through some things that you don't expect. But I will say change is still necessary for growth, even if it isn't something that's unfortunate or unplanned. You know, Nathan and I can both say we're stronger this year after everything that's happened. And we've had a lot of stuff happen in our personal life aside from his dad passing.
Well, that's good. I mean, it's good that you can come up with something positive after all that, those sort of things. But I think you made a conscious effort because you had more of a negative upbringing in that respect. You knew what it was. You were able to identify it. So you made
Hmm.
a conscious effort to go away from that.
It's almost like you see how you don't want to be, what
Hmm.
not to do.
Exactly.
Like they taught you to go the opposite, which is only up. That's kind of how I look at it when people are negative like that. They showed me what not to do, how I don't want to be.
Exactly. No, you're 100% right. And I was really lucky to have somebody who I considered to be more of a mother to me, as a role model in my life when I was growing up. And that really helped turn things around for me. Again, people, I just don't know how you can do certain things without that support.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about what we're seeing. We found this TikTok post from a gal who I'd never heard of, but she's actually had a pretty big following, Anna Kai, and her TikTok is "It's maybe both." So she has these 5 pieces of advice to remember when you're starting over, and I want to get everyone's thoughts on that. So the first thing she said is that the beginning of something new often feels like the end of life as you know it because it is. She uses a metaphor about building a new home when an old home is still standing. You need to completely demolish yourself to start over. What do you guys think of that?
I feel like, because I kind of had that experience, like, had a softy moment. That's what I love to call it, a softy moment. I get all wimpy. Softy moment, because we sold our family home, but it's still standing. It's just someone else bought it and like redid it. And like when I go by it, I'm like, oh, they took the trees from the front yard. I'm like, oh, they're parking on that side now. You know, I actually take it a little personally. that they changed the home. But um, it doesn't feel like it's starting over. I just noticed the changes, but the home that I'm in, I still feel love for that home. So I feel like they can coexist when something old or something that's been gone away from you and something new. I feel like they can coexist without feeling like it's the end.
Agreed.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's a little dramatic, but I can kind of get what she's saying. You know, sometimes you can't have your foot in one area and then the other when you're trying to make a change. Like, if you really want to make a change, you've got to make a leap fully over, you know.
I
So,
think that's a decision I'm struggling with right now. Am I either feel like I need to sell my home in Illinois and just be gone, or I have to reconcile something somewhere because I don't know. I'm right now I'm like 1 foot. I'm 50-50. I got to get 100 somewhere. I
right,
feel like maybe to get going, to just be done and go.
You want
yeah.
to put all your efforts in one thing.
Yeah, and I think I'm just bored, honestly, you guys. I think I'm just bored right now because I've never not had anything to do, and I have nothing to do.
Hey, I got plenty to do. You,
Would you like a project?
Yeah.
you can whip my team into shape. Oh no, they're going to edit this podcast.
Uh,
Okay, so let's her second thing. She said the best things in life will come from your worst days. I don't know. I mean, I kind of think that maybe the best things in life can come from things that have happened that are really bad. But I'm not sure. What do you guys think?
I don't know. Even I feel like aren't the worst days the bad days? So I think that yeah, I think she's right in that respect where the reinvention thing starts to happen because you don't have it's a bad thing. Something bad has happened to you. So you need a way out of it. So that's when you invent something to get out of it. So that's where the good thing comes from. So that's I feel like you wouldn't have what they say invention. What's that mother of necessity or something?
Mm, yeah,
Yeah, you invent stuff when you don't have it. So you're like, how can I get out of this? So I think something good can come out of that when it's your worst days and you really got to get out of it.
yeah, I think in retrospect, I would see that. At the time, I don't think I'd see it, but after the dust had settled, I probably would see that there was some kind of glass full, half full that came out of it. Um, but I try. Sometimes I just don't think too deep into things. I put them away and I move on.
mm, yeah.
Oh, you don't sit and stew over it?
I try not to. I try not to. It'll keep you up at night.
Okay, I admit it does keep me up at night. I'm in the
Hmm.
middle of the night. I think of something in the middle of the night and I'm tapping my husband. Hey, hey.
Yeah. So you can't let it do it to you. You just can't let it. You can't let it in. Rest is the most important thing. Uh,
All right. Well, number three, she says you can either live your life afraid of what others will say about you behind your back, or you can live your life knowing that regardless of what you do, others will always talk about you.
I think nail on the head. You can't get any better than that.
Yeah.
That's 100% correct.
Well, Rachel, you know.
Yeah.
You already know. I it don't matter what you say about me. Girl, I don't
You
care.
know you.
I don't care.
I,
I ain't
I
even got
love it.
time for that.
I love it.
I think as I've gotten older, it's been easier for me to accept that. You know, I think there was a part of me that felt like, oh, I need to change everybody's minds and I need to prove to them that they're wrong. You know, but as I got older, it was like, who gives a crap? Like, they're
Yep.
wrong. It's not worth my time.
Yep. Yeah, I think maybe, and especially more because of we're women, we care too much. We care too much. But I think there was a certain age where I was like, no, I can't care anymore. It can't affect me anymore. You're not me. You don't walk in my shoes. You don't have to live my life. Mind your business. I'm not hurting anyone. There's no reason.
Hmm.
I really wish young people, and this is, I mean, older people happen to this, they happen with this too, but so many teenagers in particular, oh my gosh, they care. They
Yep.
care about that other, the girl who, is popular in that set over there. They care too much about people that don't actually matter.
Matter.
They just don't realize that they don't actually matter. And I don't
Yep.
know, there must be some parental thing that we can do. I mean, my mom, tricked me into not caring, but that's a whole nother story there. But it worked, and it worked just fine. I'm glad she did it. But
A lot of it, I think, is social media too. They
Yes.
just compare themselves to everything they see, everyone they see. The kids who have the better, and I mean, I grew up very poor. I didn't have hardly anything, and thank God there wasn't social media, because I don't think I'd be as strong of a person today as I am had I felt that inferior watching all these other people have things that I couldn't have.
Mm. I can agree with that because I grew up poor too, and it always bothered me, that feeling like I was inferior. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Social media only elevates those
Oh
feelings.
gosh, yeah, yeah.
I just think even growing up middle class, there was always somebody who had more than you.
There always is. Yep.
So I think even having, no matter what class you're in, you're still going to find somebody, you know, even someone rich is not, what is her name? The North girl,
Kim Kardashian.
yes,
Yeah.
those people,
But
so you're
she's
always
one
going
of these
you're always
people.
going to find somebody who is higher than you as far as social status and such, no matter where you are,
Yep.
so I feel like that strong mindset, it's really can start from home. I think maybe there should be some like parental classes or something. Don't they have those?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I had to take one when I got divorced. I had to. It was
Oh
mandated.
yeah, 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 well, yeah.
Yeah, now I don't think they do it. I think on social media too, though, people, these young girls, they can be whoever they want to be, and they can pretend and portray things. A snippet of their life is perfect, and they have all these things, but then when they turn that phone off, they don't. You know,
Ah, okay.
it's a big mind mess for people.
Yep. We've
Gotcha.
talked about that before. It's really interesting and scary.
Yeah, for
All right.
young people.
Yeah.
Yeah, who don't know any better, and then they
Yep,
they don't pick what they want to actually do, and far as what they want to actually be, what they love, they pick what they think is going to bring them the most money.
100%. 100%. And it's not fulfilling. You could have all the money. Money should not motivate people. Money should be a bonus. Be happy. You got to get up. You got to be happy where you're going every day.
And they
You
learn
just
that
got to.
later. They learn that later.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Two more left. Number four. Life isn't fair, but you don't need to wait for it to become fair in order for you to try. At this point, she's saying live your life where the only voice that matters, the one inside your head.
Girl, you don't want to be inside my head. Yeah, there's a couple voices in there. But you're talking about one voice. Okay, let's go to the main one. um, yeah, the main one is the one that is the upstanding, don't give a crap person, and she's the one that I mostly listen to.
I don't know. I'm not a big fan of when they say that's not fair. I'm not a I'm not a big fan of that. I don't know. Everyone's in control of you. You bring what you give out, and I mean certain situations, yeah, it's cut and dry, but there are a lot of areas where I think if you want it, you got to go get it. Um, you don't wait, and yeah, you are the only person who matters. That's it. In your thing, in your lane, in your box with what you're doing or where you're trying to get to. It's just you. That's it. Do it. You just have to do it.
Yeah. All right. Last one. Today is not too late, no matter how old you are. Men's that.
I agree with that.
Okay, so I have this thing. So I used to be a Wilhelmina model, okay? But as a younger person, did you guys ever see those commercials? I've fallen and I can't get up.
Yeah,
Okay, so
yeah.
I have always wanted to do one of those commercials, okay? So, but obviously I was too young. I did not look the part. They were not going to cast me, right? But it's never too late. So, no matter old you are, I'm getting that part. I'm telling you, I'm striving to that.
I can see that. That's the next Rachel, you got to set that up for her with your team. You got to get that filmed.
You know what? Vixen, our
And
next
she'll do it so gracefully too.
our next marketing day, Vixen, we're gonna do it.
Yeah.
I might. I dance on tables. Who knows?
She's a trained beauty professional. Look at her. She's beautiful.
All right, guys. Well, we're coming to the end of the podcast. This has been really great. Is there anything else you want to add about this topic?
Yeah.
I think our personal experiences pretty much speak for themselves. It is just hard to understand that need to change, when you need to change or you want to change, just understand who you are first. Who that, like I said, even if you have to write it down, understand who you really are first and because if you try to change that part, that's going to make you unhappy in the end. You can change your clothes, you can change your hair, you can change where you work, you can change all of that stuff. But when you start acting differently, and it is an act,
Yep.
it's going to come back to haunt you, and you won't be able to keep that up too long anyway.
Yeah, if it's not genuine, absolutely. I think my best advice, don't overcomplicate. People overcomplicate everything. It's not that complicated. I think I've always just simplicity. I just keep it simple. That's it.
I agree. I think for me, I know a lot of folks that are unhappy, and they want to make a change, but that fear or that guilt, holds them back, and it just paralyzes them. So they
Yep.
just do nothing. And so, if I had any, piece of advice, it's like inaction is action. You keep doing what you're doing, you're going to get exactly what you've always had. So, for those that are desperate for a change in their life, the reality is it does come with a price tag. It's a risk, but it's a risk that you should be willing to take if you really want to get to the other side.
Yeah, there's a whole lot: fear, risk, reward, all of it. It's all together.
And be nervous.
Yep.
You're not nervous, you're not doing anything new.
Yeah. I always had a friend tell me, don't be afraid to stand in the heat. If you can stand in the heat and get called on the carpet and you can handle it, you can do anything.
Yep. I had a friend that always said, face the music, got to do the hard thing. The harder thing is usually the right thing, but you got to do it.
Yep, absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you for tuning into the Light Her Project podcast. And you can follow our conversation online with our hashtag. In the meantime, keep it real. Real women
With real talk.
Thanks for having me.